Hi, everyone. Doing a little bit more informal. I'm setting today here for this recording of video for my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm answering a question that I got from one of my Instagram followers asking me just super honestly, like, is training for the Great World Race actually healthy? And I thought this is such a good question because this is why I'm putting all of my training data out in the open. My nutrition, my recovery metrics, my strength training, my running, everything is just out in the open because I really want people to see ins and the outs of this. Because for total clarity, just right off the top, I am doing this as an extreme life event. This is not my lifestyle. So everything in this video I'm going to talk about is not a recommendation. And right off the bat, I want to make the very clear distinction for people. This is not my lifestyle. This is something I'm doing because I set a goal for myself. I want to achieve this goal because it means something to me. It means something to me to show it to all of you. And this is not how I'll be living my life for the rest of my life. Okay, so very clear distinction. However, there are some components and things that I'm going to talk about in this video that just pertain to training for a lifestyle, cardio that fits your goals, strength training to match your goals, to build lean muscle mass, recovery, because it is just so important no matter what stage you're in. But for this video, and obviously for my training for the Great World Race, making that clear distinction, that boundary line, there is fitness as a lifestyle, and then there's then there's achieving an activity goal or an athletic goal. I'm working to achieve an athletic goal, very different from fitness as a lifestyle. So with that brought on the question, is training for the Great World Race actually helpful? Now, I am going to, you see me scanning this because I made some notes because there's some really clear points around this that I want to make and I don't want to fall off track. So let's state the truth up front. No, this is not good for the body in a traditional health sense. So let's reframe the conversation knowing what I said before, that I am training for an extreme athletic goal in a time-bound event. It's, I'm training for this certain period of time. It's an event that's going to take place in a certain period of time. And then I'm going to get back to living my life. This is intentional stress. So let's reframe the conversation that this is intentional stress. It's not accidental overtraining. It's not me needing to get my sense of worth from thing. It's me pursuing an athletic goal that I care deeply about. So with that in mind, the question really isn't then, is it healthy? Because no, in traditional sense, not. But the question there really then is, how do you recover quickly enough from something that's extreme to be able to go and do it again? So how do I run a marathon? How do I set myself up to run that first marathon so I can recover as quickly as possible? Recover as quickly as possible to do the third. So there is absolutely going to cumulative fatigue. I'm not even pretending that that's not going to happen. None of what I'm doing is to try to pretend that reality is not reality, meaning that I'm going to be very tired. It's going to be painful, not in an injury sense, but I'm running 7 marathons in a sense. So let's just unpack all of this, how I'm trying to make it as healthy as possible. I want to tackle this from couple different ways, because there's the physical stress, but actually also there is the mental stress of doing this. The mental stress is real. And actually, I don't know if it's paid enough attention to for these experiences, because you really uncover a lot. You've got to steel yourself mentally, because I just know that from doing enough challenging things that wherever your mind goes, your body will follow. Even if it's messy, sloppy, snotty, name another one of the 7 dwarfs, no matter how messy it is, if your brain is just one word, you'll do it. You'll do it. You absolutely do it. So there's the physical stress and then there's the mental stress. And obviously the way that we train stress into the body is by stressing the body, and it's the same thing for the mind. So during this training cycle, I'm really trying to stress my mind training so that I can talk myself through it, because every one of those little nuggets of how I in my training is going to be how I talk myself during the actual race. So let's talk about preparation and then recovery for both of this, the physical and the mental stress. So the body is always balancing between catabolic events and anabolic events. Catabolic events are the breakdown, stress, the depletion. The anabolic events, other side to the coin, repair, recovery, and building. The Great World Race and training for it is an extreme catabolic event for the body. It is a massive breakdown of the body. So this entire event that I'm training for hinges on how fast and how well I can shift back toward that anabolic state, that rebuilding state. So that's the reality of running those 7 marathons, but that's also the reality of what I have to pay attention to in this training, because the body just won't magically do it. And I haven't paid any attention to my recovery, my building and rebuilding and all these things that both mentally and physically during my training is not just going to magically do it in 7 marathons. Yes, I will have adrenaline on my side and all the excitement, but that's going to wear off. I heard someone in one of the videos that just ran the Great Wall Race this past year say, everyone's got a great plan until about the 3rd marathon. Then we'll see. And so that's what I'm preparing for. That's absolutely what I'm preparing for. So let's again go back to a little bit of a reality check here, being that this is an extreme catabolic event on the body. By the time I reach the start line in Antarctica, I will have logged approximately 2,500 miles of training over 12 months of very structured prep. I'm not just going willy-nilly. I'm not just running as much as I possibly can. I have very, 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 very much structured prep. 2,500 miles, though, it's a lot. It's a lot. So the serious factor in this is that this is not just some bucket list challenge. It is a physiological and mental restructuring. And that's why I'm going into it, because I am in this, because I want to see what happens when I go through this kind of training physiologically, but also mentally. I want to see who I am under all of that eroding away of comfort and everything that. So I'm not just running a lot, I'm managing a 52 metabolic and structural bill into my, and again, I'll repeat, this is not a lifestyle that I intend to maintain. It's a challenge that I want to take on. Doing extreme events is not my lifetime goal, not even close. So let's talk more about this catabolic side of this event, the physical breakdown. So what catabolic stress actually means in endurance events, it's muscle fiber damage, connective tissue stress, or tendons, ligaments, or fascia. What's a stress? Joint loading, joint stress, immune suppression, and a hormonal stress response. So we're the cortisol dominant response to the stress of training. There are environmental stresses when I actually run the races that are going to be multipliers, which are cold in Antarctica. Thankfully, living in Canada, training in prairies in Canada, I'm going to hopefully have a lot of good training in the cold. The heat, Africa, Australia, extreme humidity. I know that running in South America, has a lot of the participants at the most challenging because it's about 40 degrees Celsius and 100% humidity. And then the travel, dehydration, sleep disruption, eating disruption, all these things that. So again, important distinction that this is not longevity training at all. This is just performance under extreme conditions to the mental and nervous system fatigue. So we talked about physiological there. Let's talk about the mental and the nervous system breakdown. So the central nervous fatigue versus just muscle fatigue, the central nervous system will get really tired because this gut is keep propelling my body. Decision fatigue while exhausted, I cannot trust really probably as I get deeper into this, any of the decisions. And that's why this training is so important, because I need to know what happens to my brain when I get tired. And so that's really, really, really interesting. Emotional regulation when I'm tired, sore, uncomfortable, staying positive without relying on hype or adrenaline. That's why these base building phases, phase 1 that I just finished and phase 2 that I'm in now, which are my absolute base building phases, are so uncomfortable because they're so boring, so incredibly boring. There's no hype, there's no adrenaline. So how do I stay positive? And I'm not to stay positive. How do I stay constructive without hype or adrenaline? And why my mindset alone is not enough without my systems, my calendaring systems, because that's the stuff that just gets me up and out of the door. I don't even negotiate with my training anymore. It's such a waste of energy. So that's why I put everything in my calendar. They're appointments. I do them, I keep them. There we go. So that's the physiological breakdown. And then also the mental, I don't want to say mental breakdown. That's not it, but the mental exhaustion. And then the catabolic, wilting away of my energetic mind as I get more tired during marathons. So just to reframe a little bit of that, again, transitioning into then anabolic side, the buildup side is really focusing in on, and what I'm intentionally focusing on is that the Great Road Race is not primarily a running event. It is a logistical event and a recovery event. And it's obviously very much a running event, but it's very much how quickly can I recover again? So how quickly can I stop the breakdown and start rebuilding over and over again? And so maybe after I run the first marathon, I'm going to get to this amount of recovery. Second marathon, maybe this amount, 34. So it's how quickly can I get as high as I can in my recovery push. So with that, let's talk about the recovery and the rebuilding, which is the flip side of the breakdown is the recovery and the rebuilding. So the physical recovery is, I'm not doing this from obviously being a non-runner. My body is used to the act of running. So I've got some lifestyle preparation that just happen to get done, but also I'm training for a very long time. I'm not just deciding to do 3 months. I decided to run this race in January 2025. I ran a marathon and 2 half marathons in 2025 to just get more miles out of my feet. And then officially November 2025 to November 2026, that's really the window. So I'm doing almost 2 years of preparation leading up to this because I'm trying to build up my volume progressively. And with each race that I've done, trying to learn something from it. How can I get my body to recover as quickly as possible after that marathon, after that half marathon? How did my carb loading go? How did it affect my running? Plus, most importantly, the recovery. So the running volume is being built up progressively. Strength training for tissue resilience, not aesthetics. That's actually been very liberating, this whole process, because my business has been built on strength training for aesthetics and everything. And so for me to mentally make that shift from me strength training, not from aesthetic, but to resilience, health, safety within my body for these marathons, liberating. I have my body. I just love it. I see it as strong now. I don't have to look at the aesthetics of it and I just see strong. That has been so liberating. Man, I didn't really think about that until I just started talking about it right now. So that's been really awesome to switch from strength training as aesthetics to strength training for strength. So yeah, proofing strategies really get strength training and building for miles for injury prevention. Injury prevention for me is over performance PRs. So I'm watching my fitness go up because I'm paying recovery so much, but I'm not training in to get speed PRs. That has nothing to do with it for me. I've switched also to training for heart rate metrics. So I'm training 2 zones as opposed to training to paces because my heart rate and paces in one temperature and environment and level of fatigue will not match another one. And if I get to marathon 5 and I'm still trying to push to the same pace as I did in marathon 1 or 2, I'm going to blow myself out. I'm just going to blow myself out. So I'm training to heart rate. That means that I'm going to run these races in varying times, probably between 4 to 4.5 hours, depending on where I am. But it's going to be different. And I'm just going to be okay with it different. And no PRs, not expecting a PR. So it's just really all about capacity building. There are no hero workouts in this. There is no ego workouts. It's just putting the miles onto my feet and then recovering as quickly. Also, while I'm in this training phase, I'm doing a lot of physio, once a week physio, for some dry needling, massage every other week, and chiro if I'm just feeling. There's a couple spots in my thoracic back that sometimes I just need that. So now physical recovery system. So important to pay attention to, which is why I'm just trying to get smart about this spot. Deload discipline. Every 5 weeks, there's a deload week where you take the training mileage and the weights in my weight training down about 30-40%. That is a must. That is an absolute must for physical, but also mental, because the mental toll of running all these miles, when you get to run shorter miles, your brain kind of goes. And generally, it's just all easy runs. I'm trying not to look at my watch during those weeks. I'm just trying to get in the 30% less miles. And also for the strength training, it's a lot less planning. It's a lot less putting so many weights on the bar, so many warm-up sets. It's just such release for the body, but also I'm also have my Friday non-negotiable strictly off day. That's not even an active recovery day. It is an off day. I do my meal prep in the morning, which means I'm on my feet for about 45 minutes. And then I just really I still eat the same amount of calories on my days off. I eat the same amount of calories, which is so important because on the days off is when your body's building. And I do not take less calories on my days off. Not at all. Not even close. So that's super important. It's also not fun it's actually then food stays kind of punitive. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of an extreme word, but I'm not burning as many calories today, so I can't eat as much food. That is dieting mentality. That is not training for an extreme athletic event mentality. I'm looking at myself as an athlete, not as someone dieting or following dieting protocol. Now, the most important part of training for this event to promote that anabolic event is prepare the building, food and sleep. Food, sleep all day long. I've got ruthlessly protective about my sleep, which is new for me. And man, I feel wonderful. great. So something that I monitor within my sleep, how much I'm sleeping. My optimal time is between 7.5 to 8 hours a night. And that's awesome because I used to spend sleep 6 hours a night. And looking back now, I felt hungover most days because I, wasn't sleeping enough. But now some data that I watch for my sleep is my heart rate, my HRV, my heart rate variability, which is a measure of how well your system recovers. So the higher variability generally means your body is adapting while covering. It's adapting to the stress. It's calming itself down after the stressful training, while lower variability signals accumulated stress, fatigue, overtraining. So the metric generally runs between the numbers of 20 to 120. When I started phase 1 of this training in November, I was at about a 60 HRV, which is pretty good in the middle. As I've gotten deeper in the training, my heart rate, my HRV's gone up. I average about 75 now. So I'm amazed at me. So all the other things I'm taking to deloads, I'm sleeping well, and I'm eating enough food, and I'm just training smart. My resting heart rate, which is my sleeping heart rate, that's in between 38 to 40 beats per minute overnight. And it also comes down quickly, which is a good sign that my body's, we're good, we're safe. Heart rate can come down. Runners notoriously have incredibly low overnight heart rates. Another measure is that my blood pressure is great. I'm solid 120/80. If it was too low, it would signal that I'm not getting enough sodium. My nutrition might not be right. I might be overtraining. If obviously it was too high, that would say indicate other training, overtraining stress. I'm also watching my sleep stages, how much deep sleep REM sleep, how many times I'm waking up at night. And so all of it, this is the incredible thing. All of it has improved as my miles have been getting longer. And this, I think, because as my miles have been getting longer, I've just been very ruthless about where I've been, how I've been sleeping, all these, my food, my eating, how close to my meals that I'm eating afterwards to get food back in my system. How am I monitoring all this? I love my Garmin. I do have an Aura ring. You can use Aura ring. I wear my Garmin to sleep because I'm using my Garmin for all my training data. Just looking at an Aura ring plus the Garmin is just too much data, way too much data. So the Garmin can do everything, one place, one set of data. I'm good. Totally good. And then also, other acute recovery tools. I'm using the Theragun for circulation, so the neural down regulation. This is so relaxing. My compression boots, the Normatec Hyperice compression boots. I'll link all in the description. That is really for lymphatic drainage, venous return, and things like that, swelling management. It's incredible, actually. With that, I don't feel I'm dragging one run into next. And magnesium salt baths after my long runs, it's just I just feel my body after that long run when I get the warm bath to smell. Some people use Epsom salts, maybe too. I don't know. I make salts dedicated magnesium salts. I use the Coach soap brand. Just feel my inside just totally relax it. So it's also great for muscle relaxation, sleep support. And so that's that side of it. I talked a lot about food. Food is repair. It is essential. It is not a reward. I focus on whole foods. Obviously protein for tissue rebuilding. If you want to see all of my nutrition data, what my macros are, it's linked in the description. I'm just all out online and being really smart about how close around my training, because the body, after it expels an incredible amount of energy, carbohydrates, wants to take it back in. So I'm being very, very cautious and careful, intentional with getting enough carbohydrates back into my body so that my muscles can store carbohydrates, glycogen. My liver can store glycogen as well, but also the for the tissue rebuilding, and then also a good amount of fats, because midlife women need a good amount of fats, and that helps so much with the hormones. And guys needed to it. So I'm looking, there's a humpback whale right out there that's flopping around. I wish I could show it to you. Sorry, side note. But the hormonal support and the hormonal needs after an extreme is so important. So that's why dehydration and the electrolyte. I obviously I've always drank about 40 a day, and that's become really important. Electrolytes, I do not like to drink electrolytes. I like to get salt pills or electrolyte pills, and those help a lot, especially when you get into the running to prevent cramping, keep your energy up. So hydration is not just water alone. You can have obviously electrolytes really, really matter. Sodium, magnesium, potassium, and there's other trace electrolytes. But so for anyone watching, see what you best. I do not like to drink sweet water when I'm running, so I just take electrolyte pills. So like I mentioned, those are for muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and preventing of compound. So I'm really gonna have to watch that, especially when I hot bar. So supplements to help with prevents film, turmeric, really important for inflammation, really high quality fish oils for joint health, systemic inflammation support, magnesium, really important. Magnesium, thyroid support, extra iron, probiotics for gut health, and these supplements, they are the most basic. There's nothing more fancy about them. These are just supplements that assist recovery. They do not replace it's they don't replace it. So all that to say is that I'm just trying to be smart about it. So I'm accepting the risk of all this, but I'm not as the benefits that I've seen for myself mentally so far. Trains. Wow, I didn't expect myself to get a little emotional at the end. It's everything I wanted to get out of it. And I only things it is teaching me so much humility. And I know I've said this in other videos, but getting my ego out of the way, just going at all of it so much really gratitude. It's just been so worth it so far. So to reframe, it's not about suffering people. I'm not trying to suffer, I'm trying to achieve people. It's about vibration. I'll be really curious to know from all of you, what do you think about? What's your impression of the Go Grace? Anything I've said, is that helpful? Just sort of how I'm approaching it as intelligently, like, and because again, I have no desire to see how much I can punish myself. So this is me trying to just achieve a goal, and this is how I'm fitness is my language to achieve this goal of what I'm looking for to discover about myself, so I can be a better human, be a better wife, a better stuff, better coach, a better. And so yeah, that's really it. Anything else you want to know? Ask, and I love answering these questions because I should well go ahead and chat.